How's it going? So I got about an hour that I can stream here. It's been so hot here. It seems like I can only run the dogs whenever the temperature cools down. But sorry, just getting the volume adjusted on my end. All right, for anybody watching, just let me know how the sound's doing on the other end. So, on Bitcoin here, let's zoom out here to the 4-hour time frame. All right, so on Bitcoin here, last night we bounced off the 618 fib retracement, which I've been talking about forever, and I'm actually going to move these. I'm going to get rid of these moving averages so you can see it a little better. I'll also get rid of market cipher B. Awesome. Glad to hear the sound's doing good. So, I've been talking about it for the last couple days, especially before this dip occurred. I wanted to see how we reacted to the 618. Not only was it in the same area that we bounced off last time, but it's the 618. Let's see if I'm going to zoom out here. So, the 618, it's your golden retrace. Generally, people look for areas of value between the 382 and the 618, with your 0.5 being, so when you make a huge impulse like we did, you most commonly retrace 50% before you bounce. And you can see on our most recent jump to almost 14,000, we sat, here's your line right here for the 0.5, investors saw areas of value. I mean, you can count these wicks, but, here we got a bounce from the 0.5. Here we bounce for the 0.5. But it's just like a relationship. If you test something too many times, eventually it's going to break. And we eventually did that this time. We came to test it a third time. We bounced off the 618. And here we are. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Actually, I'm going to shrink this a little bit so it's a little bit easier for me to read. All right, perfect. So it looks like we just crossed the 0.5 now, and we're going to be, well, see, I'm kind of divided right now. 11,000 is going to be pretty staunch resistance. And I was looking at the moving averages, and I was looking, sorry about that. I was looking at some of these moving averages, and there's going to be these small little areas of resistance just above 11,000. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Alright, so if you follow this line right here, I'm going to do this as a temporary line, but I'm not going to keep it. It's not that strong of resistance, but it's just something that is holding us down right now. Make sure. Alright, so you have this little area right here. I mean, if we look at how many days we were there. Okay, so we really weren't even in this area for more than 2 days. Now, I guess you have this area back here. So the way I'm going to say it, we got to break 1100. I'm sorry, 11,100. Once we break 11,100, your next area of resistance is going to be roughly about that 11,300 area. That's actually, I want to see where that, okay, so the 382 is pointing at roughly about 11,500. But generally, I've noticed that we seem to find areas of resistance, like you have your psychological numbers, but the threes also seem to have just resistance with them naturally. Let's see, I want to see what 11,300 looks like. All right, and that actually makes sense here. Once again, there's not too many touch points. You know what? I'm actually going to use my vertical tool. I'm sorry, my horizontal tool. See, we're 11,000. Just curious to see how this lines up. Alright, so 11,300 is this little line here. I don't really want to put too much sediment behind that because we really have to break the 11,100 area. And then after that, I really think the next area we're going to be testing is roughly this 382. You can see where we came back. We've touched it here. We not only did we touch it here, but we actually have a touch point on it. So it is respected, you know? So I'm going, you know, that tells me that this line is, you know, it was support. We broke it, and now it's going to be resistance on the other way up. I'm actually going to delete this fib retracement now. And I have a full video that I posted on Fibonacci retracement. And whether you need a refresher or you've never heard of it before, you've never seen the Fibonacci retracement, I highly recommend to go and watching it. It's the honestly, if I had to put my favorite tool, it would be the fib retracement. If I had two tools that you could just leave me with, and that's even excluding Market Cipher, because I mean, not a lot of people have this tool. I would honestly take the RSI and the Fibonacci retracement. So you can see this parabolic line that I've been talking about, and it was kind of a indirect pat on my back. I was very shocked. He didn't share it, but when you have a guy that's very well known for technical analysis, and his name is Peter Brandt on Twitter, he posted this same line, and it was identical to mine. So I was like, man, you know you're doing something right. We broke this line, and I've been talking about it here for a while. I'm going to delete this here so we can just get a better visual of what we're looking at. So I knew this line was legit when we had that major impulse down, and we wicked off of it. Came back up. You know, obviously we came back, made a lower high on the longer time scale. And it might not show it here on the 4-hour, but we actually got some bounces off of it. And then, boom, the bottom just dropped. And now I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is a parabolic indicator, and I did not know a lot of the rules that come with this. This was mostly just a visual for me. But and you know, you can check Peter Brandt's Twitter page. So when you break these parabolic trends, where the parabolic run started, you generally retrace. I know this is going to sound bad. You retrace 80% from where the parabolic trend began. You know, and that's kind of scary because Bitcoin really has not had any kind of extended times of consolidation. We've seriously just, you know, we found our bottom at roughly 3,200, and we've taken off. I mean, our most extended area of maybe consolidation was this area here. And ever since, you know, honestly, the beginning of April, we have not slowed down. So I'm actually going to use this tool real quick. It's going to take me just a second to find it. Price range. So if we take the price range that we broke out of this, let's see where 80% would actually take us. God, this is scary. There's no way. This might not be the right tool for it. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to stretch this line a bit. I'm going to get it closer. Because this is my first time actually looking at this indicator. And I did not know, when I drew this line, I did not know there was a rule of 80%. Man, really? There's no way. There's no way. Alright, so just exit this out. There's no way that brings us to 3,400. Let me do the math on my calculator real quick. I'll get to your question just real quick. Alright, so we're sitting at 11,100. So if we're at 11,000, let's see where we officially broke it at. So we're showing, I'm just going to use 11,000. Holy cow. There's no way. 8,000. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the total run up that we had, and then I'm gonna minus that by 80%. So 1,600. So, you know, it's going to be a little tricky gauging where this is going to end. I've noticed there's a lot of people saying that we're going to go and touch the 5,000 area. But generally, I don't. One of the things I do not pay attention to is the trading view post that you'll see, like on when you see these little lights here. Because I've noticed there's a lot of amateur TA guys on the trading view list. There's a few guys that are, you know, somewhat decent, but I don't know. I've basically been watching these calls for the last 3 months that Trading Views put out. You know, these people that can post, and they're not very accurate. You know, I do not put too much sentiment behind that. Let's think about buying. So okay, so that's to get back into this parabolic line. Zoom in for you. So to get back into this parabolic line, we're gonna have to surpass. You know, that actually kind of fits perfect. I never actually thought about it till you said something. To get back into this parabolic line, we're at least gonna have to cross back into the 12,000s. And after this stream, I'm going to do more research into that whole 80% retracement. You know, like I said, this is the first time I brought that indicator out. But once again, it was just kind of cool because I've been talking about this for a while now, this parabolic line. And then to have someone that awesome, you know, that well known. And I mean, he's like one of the gods of technical analysis, for him to come out and say that. And then he came out yesterday and said that they commonly retrace 80%. I was just like, sheesh. So I'm going to put these moving averages back on. So this is Market Cipher. He is somewhat well known in the crypto, especially like crypto YouTube. But if you like this indicator, I recommend checking out CryptoFace. He's the one that developed this indicator. I do not use this to judge a lot of my trades. I know he says you can have no trading experience, and I do like CryptoFace, but honestly, for this indicator to work for you, you're going to need some type of trading experience, and it is a little bit expensive. So what this is you'll have these little lines here. This is the money flow index, and then these blue lines, or I'm sorry, these bubbles, are basically ways that you can find hidden divergences. And I've explained this in some of my static videos, but I'll do a little bit of I'll do a small little tutorial on it, just so you know what I'm working with. Let's see here. Yeah, I want my trend line back. So on your upper trend lines, I'm going to start with these top blue boxes up here. If you're looking for bearish divergence on this trend line, on this top one, we're not going to talk about this bottom one now. You'll want these blue boxes to come up like this, and whether it ends in like this and it makes a lower high, it also works the same as if you have a single blue box. Here, I'm going to move this over. It also works if you have single boxes like this, and then you have smaller boxes beneath it. The point of this is they need to be down sloping like this. This is bearish divergence, and this indicator is so spot on. Honestly, I could completely trade just fine not even having Market Cipher A, because and it's something I found out, and it wasn't to be like hard on CryptoFace, because I was like, man, what is up with your Market Cipher A? Because I'll sit here and I'll watch it like a hawk. Here, let me click it on for you. You can kind of see why it's confusing. There's all these colors everywhere, and it gets a bit overwhelming. I'm going to zoom in for you guys. So you'll be looking at this, and let's say you're watching present time right up here, right? And it drops, and you looked at all the time frames. This X doesn't pop up. It's like it's a lagging indicator, and I didn't find that out until I finally talked to him, and he did a full video on it. Because I was wondering, I was like, man, if you look back on this chart sitting down here, like, man, I'm such an idiot. How did I miss this call? It's because it's a lagging indicator. But what is a real-time indicator is this one. And you can see how spot on it is. Like, so see this green dot right here? You would have perfectly, you know what I mean? You would have bought somewhere in this area if you listened to this. And also, here's something interesting, and this is why I'm not putting too much sediment in this little bounce we've had since yesterday. Do you see these moving averages right here that are starting to converge? When these cross, I'm going to start getting more bearish. And here's another thing. So we're sitting on the 4 hour. Let's start on the daily, because when you look for divergences, you always want to go from the high time frames and move your way up to the longer ones. So looking at this, remember how I was telling you about those boxes pointed down? They're not instant. So generally what I like to do is when I see another box, can you see where these boxes right here, you see the dark blue and then the lighter shade of blue? What that lighter shade of blue means is the box is rounding off, that the box is ending, so it's not going to get taller. And if you look, if you were to judge this right when the blue rounded off the top, look at the price. It's hidden divergence. Boom, we fell right from, what was the price then? Just over $13,000. And then, just like another one here, if you look at the price up here, right at the top of this divergence, boom, fall. Now let's look at a bullish one. So if you're looking for a bullish indicator, it's going to be literally inverse what this one is. You want these indicators to be moving in a downward motion for bullish divergence. If you see the lines going like this, if you see the lines doing something like this, and they're not pointing down, or I'm sorry, that's not a good one. Yeah, sorry about that. So if you see the lines going like up, and what you would be seeing with the boxes is what you would be seeing here. If you saw the lines getting basically higher and higher, that's also a bearish sign. I'm finally starting to figure out the divergences on this indicator. It took me literally almost 3 weeks of owning this thing to finally realize how it works. But man, when you realize how it works, it's amazing. So right here, you have your top. And CryptoFace actually had a video last night, and he named this perfectly. This is like, imagine having a trigger to the gun, right? You see where this white is? Remember how I said how that's rounding off? The box will not get any taller. Look at that. You would be seeing the top of the box round off. I mean, you would have bought a little bit early, but you see the green dot. The box is rounding off. Boom. Jump right there. Now let's look at that measured move. They're looking at 3,100 to 4,100. On this divergence right here, this would be bearish. You're looking at 5,600 roughly to 4,900. I mean, so it seems these divergences seem to be more spot on at catching the larger time frame moves. We're on the daily now, so let's go look at the 4 hour. Let's see, and this is why I'm a little concerned now for Bitcoin. We're making a new high. I'm sorry, we're not a new high. Sorry about that. We are bouncing from our lows, but look at our 4 hour right now. With the box is rounding off, but look how high that is. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not making lower. There's no bullish divergence on this trend right here. You know, you can see this. This would actually be a bullish divergence right here because it's pointed up. So it's a pretty decent indicator. I was just wanting to explain this a little bit to you guys, so when you see this on my streams, you know, kind of have an idea of what to look for. So looking at Bitcoin, the Fibonacci retracement, I did a video on it, and there's two ways you can do this, and it really just matters on what kind of investor you are. How are you going to trade this? Are you looking for quick swings, or are you a long-term, you know, trader? So if you were wanting to trade this on a long-term time scale, you would start from your swing low, which would be right here. Now, if you use a candle close, you have to do the candle close up here. Vice versa, if you were gonna, and if you're gonna do a wick, you have to do the same up here. So you would take your swing low. I'm gonna measure this with the dots. And you would go up here. Now, this is the longer time frame. So this is just to give you an idea where we're at based on from our absolute bottom. So as I've discussed earlier, we are sitting at our 382 now. Look at these perfect 2 touch points. But as I said, on the other fibs, you test something too many times, it's going to eventually break. And if we go and look at our 382, it's considered a moderate retrace. So let's see where our 618 is. And if you look at our 618, it's literally sitting right under our prior support, where we basically, this is where actually I would be setting my fib if you're going to be doing short-term trades, and it just matches up perfectly. And so if we were to go down and hit the golden retracement on the longer time frame fibs, you can expect a 72 or roughly about a $7,250, $7,300 Bitcoin. So, I don't want to get too ahead of myself right now, too far ahead. We still got $10,000 to worry about. But once we actually break 10,000, and this is my opinion, this is not a financial advice. I don't think we're going to bounce off 9,800 again. If we test 9,800 again, I think we're going to break it. That's going to be the 3rd time. I mean, how many times can you get lucky, So, our next fib level could very well, we could maybe even bounce off our 50% retracement. And if you look at this line, it's sitting pretty much right above our prior resistance, which would now be support. So this makes total sense. And that would be an $8,500 Bitcoin. And I like to have $100 plus or minus. So this could be 85, but since it's 85, it could be 86 or 84. It just, since the exchanges don't have an equilibrium, I like to have, that's why I have that plus or minus $100 on it. So we bounced off the 382 on the longer time frame fibs, and here we are. So, that's pretty much Bitcoin. I just kind of wanted to show you what you can expect for fib levels and how I come up with it. If you have any questions or any coins you would like me to look at, I'm going to put it in the comments here. But, shoot them off. I have about another hour or so, or I'm sorry, about another 30, 45 minutes that I'll be on here. And I'll probably do another one later tonight. So, but it's just been so hot out here. I like to run my dogs before it gets too darn hot outside. So I think the next one I'm going to look at here is, let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum took a huge hit yesterday, and I think this would actually be a really good one to take a look at. Let's go to the daily. Alright, so I have this fibbed on the longer time frame. Once again, makes perfect sense. We almost hit that 618. Looks like the traders kind of saved it right before the 618. But right now we're sitting at the 0.5 retracement right now, literally just above it. Your 0.5 retracement is at 225, and we're sitting at 229 currently. So, looking at Ethereum, this is the daily time scale, so I'm going to move to the 4-hour just because it's a little bit more recent. Alright, so Ethereum here, once again, we're showing bearish divergence again on this one. I mean, not so much, but on the bullish time scale, this is the one I look at, where it's not bullish right now. They're still pointed up. And you can see actually on here, right when the top of this candle started turning, are rolling over, you can see the movement we had right after that, rolled off a cliff. But look at that, the money flow is just starting to turn green on here. So something to watch for. But you can kind of see how rounded it is. Alright, just getting a more clear picture on here. So it looks like for resistance levels right now on on Ethereum right here, we're sitting literally right above our next resistance level. And the way I can come up with this, you can see where we came up, touched down, almost touched it here, but then touched down again here, and then where our first impulse, basically hit a bottom before impulsing back down. So, let's see. Alright, so actually Ethereum just bounced over it right now. So your first temporary support on Ethereum right now is going to be roughly about the 230 area.
I like the misery. I like this one.
So you can see those touch points. We're sitting right above our support level. It looks like it's going to hold that 0.5. So you're going to have that 225, 230 area. It's going to be holding as temporary support. But once again, on the 4 hour, we're showing, that is bearishness right there. But let's go to the closer, more recent time frames. Because with this going on, we'll be able to see. So, as you can imagine, the 45, all the lower time frame candles, or I'm sorry, the information that goes into these candles will form eventually the later time frames. So we can kind of get an idea instead of waiting every 4 hours, how are these candles going to start forming? Alright, so this is the 15 minute. I'm going to start from the most recent one. And, alright, so this is showing a little bit of bearishness right now. It's the 15 minute, so I'm not going to put too much sentiment behind it. Let's zoom over. Let's go to the 45 minute. Alright, so right now we are building positive momentum up here. What you're going to want to see how this is rounding off here. You'll want to see it either wick off like here and then form like another low like this. Something similar to that. Or you would want to see basically this candle get cut off right here. Well, here, I'm just going to delete it. It'll be a little bit easier to show. But you'll want to see this basically end, Let's just say this is the the dot or whatever you want to call it. You'll want to see the next one be lower. Or I'm sorry, you'll want to see this one be higher if you're looking for bearishness. Or I'm sorry, bullishness. If this pointed upward on this indicator right here, that would be a sign of bullishness. Bearishness would be this one right here, where it's a lower candle. Or not a candle, an indicator. I'm not even honestly sure. If you have a good explanation of what these could be called, a blob. But right now we're building positive momentum. It's just how long is it's going to hold, Bitcoin's looking a tad bearish now. So that doesn't mean we can't go up and stay bear, these indicators can't stay bearish for a while and we can keep chugging up, These indicators, they're not instant. Let's go over to the 1 hour. So we're starting to slowly build positive momentum. The longer and higher these candles build on this indicator, like if they were to build like this, the more, because this is momentum building higher and higher and higher. The lower these build, I'm sorry, the higher they build, the more buying power, the more, you know, Ethereum's going to want to try to shoot up. So we got to keep this momentum up, especially if you're wanting this to stay bullish. But this has a lot of the characteristics of a possible bear flag forming. Ethereum really took one of the hardest hits yesterday. Can't believe we hit $202. So let's just do some bullish targets. So your first area resistance is literally where we're at right now. We got to hold that 230 area, and you'll have your 225 support at your 0.5 fib. If that breaks, your next area, oh, I'm sorry, if we turn bullish, let's see here. The next area we're going to have as resistance is that 234, 235 area. And then if we can break that, I think we're going to test the 382, which is around that 259, 260 area. Ethereum, I think, honestly has the most room to rebound if Bitcoin turns bullish and we rocket past 11,000. Bitcoin or Ethereum lost the most in that dump. Vicious dump right there. But also another thing to add is you can see this redness right here. That's a lot of negative momentum. So there's even in that last bear run we had in 2018, there was so many sellers of Ethereum. I don't know if it was from the ICOs or what was going on, but Ethereum does not have a shortage of sellers, and it never has. Honestly, if that bear run would have never ended, there would have been enough coins in the market to dump that thing well under $100. So let's say we turn bearish though, and we go down rather than up, which is very possible. Bitcoin's at critical, areas right now. My next area I would be looking at is, I mean, you'll have your $200 psychological support, and that's all, and that's if your 0.5 breaks at 225. But if that breaks, I would be looking roughly about the 618, which is your 192 area, and it fits perfectly because you can see where we have this touch point here, and you have your prior resistance up here. That's now support. Pardon me, I'm gonna take a drink real quick. Whew, that was full. So, I mean, there's Ethereum for you. So the numbers I would keep in mind is we have to hold that 225, 230 area. And, you're going to have a little bit of resistance at roughly that. Looking at it closer, it's going to be that $235 area. And it looks like we're trying to test it. We're sitting just above 230 now. But then after 235, your next areas. Yeah, honestly, there's just really not a ton of resistance after 235. I mean, you're going to have a little bit at roughly that 250 area, but I really think if we can break past that 235, 240 area, $260 will be right around the corner. But on the same rate, if we turn bearish again, who's to say $200 will be strong psychological support, but if that breaks, I would be fully expecting the 618 to be our next target. Crazy stuff with Ethereum right here. So on this one, it's just one of the more requested coins I had. And if you have any coin requests, shoot them down in the comment section. Still got another 20 or so minutes. It's funny as it is, Tron was one of the most sought after coins. Tron and XRP, they were the most requested by far. So right now, that's why I kind of haven't been messing with Tron lately when it comes to the analysis. We're basically just in freestanding mode now. Like nothing, or I'm sorry, not freestanding, but we're going to be in price discovery mode right now. You're going to have literally your last layer. I can't believe I'm even saying this. You're gonna have your last support at roughly 200 satoshis, but after that, I'm dead serious when I say your next support is gonna be 120 satoshis. Tron's gonna remain very, very bearish until it breaks 270 satoshis. I would not even touch Tron until it breaks 270 and holds support above it. Let's look at XRP. Gosh dang, that is just horrible. Wow. Okay, it's crazy how that run was yesterday. So I need to turn this line red now because it is definitely not support anymore. So right now we're basically butting up against our next, let's see where we're at. We're sitting literally right at it right now. I'm going to zoom in and get a closer look at this just because it's kind of hard to see from a distance. So as you can see right here, we are sitting right under our next resistance, which is going to be roughly about, it's going to be just over 32 cents. You know, we had our impulse down. This kind of is showing a famous, what do you call it, bear flag right now on XRP. And you see this redness right here? I'm going to scoot this over. I don't know if my face is in the way. Showing a lot of selling pressure right here. There's a lot of negative momentum. When you see this deep red, that means there is just a ton of sellers. But your money flow is turning green, and it is just ever so slight. It is very slight, but we are just barely showing a little bit of bullishness on XRP right now. You can see where we have our snake eyes, these green dots on Market Cipher. These are buying indicators. So if you would have followed Market Cipher, you would have bought roughly, wow, did we pierce 30 cents yesterday? Sure did. You would have bought roughly just under 30 cents if you listen to Market Cipher. These little green dots right here. But once again, even when I see these green dots, I do not like to follow them until, you know, see if you can see it right here. Actually, I'm going to do this for you. Do you see how this is kind of called a trigger? Do you see how when I was talking about how you want the next circle to round off where you can make a downward motion? This is where I would be waiting to buy. When you see the next the next blob starting, and when you see this white, you know the circle is going to be rounding off. So that is an indicator that it's not going to build higher than this one. You know, same with this one. Oh, I don't want an alert. So if you look at this, whenever that we started to make that, you know, the next lower blob, which this would be bullish, you know, you'd be sitting roughly, you know, just about 30 cents. It's a pretty cool indicator when it comes to like catching these dips. Okay, so Market Cipher B, I call it like whenever you think you get that gut feeling crypto's failing or going to zero, you know, everyone gets really, really bearish. You start seeing doomsday predictions. This is like the light in the darkness. It gives you some clarity when things are really not very clear. And that's also why I use the Fibonacci retracement. I want to zoom out on the daily chart here. I just want to see if there's a better, I want to fib this a little better because we are literally right. I had this fibbed at like what, 29 cents? We were like 40 the other week. So I'm going to fib this from its absolute low. Come on. So you can either use this close or you're going to use the wick. I'm just going to go ahead and use the wick because the wicks are so tall on this side. And I'm going to use this as my fib tool now on XRP for a while now. So looking at our fib tool, damn, we tested our deepest retracement. It's just insane. XRP has just been so bearish. So your next targets on XRP, especially if we fail this 30-cent marker, I would be looking for buys roughly around the 28-cent area. Let's see if I can see it on the 4-hour a little better. see. It's just so hard to kind of dictate this thing. It's just, it's really hard to fib something that is this bearish, because if we break 28 cents, it's going to be, I mean, it's going to take catching knife to an extreme degree. You really do not want to break 28 cents. That is literally, if I'm going to make a line on XRP right now, is like last stand, that's going to be 28 cents. You do not want that. If you're an XRP fan, you do not want 28 cents to break. It will get very, very ugly. If you're going to break 28 cents, just to give you an estimate, if we do, your next area of support, let me see when Binance added XRP. Is it because I'm using Tether? See, there's so much lack of data. It's really hard to even tell you USD Tether-wise where, and what area of price would be the best one to average in. Because according to this data here, as you can see, it's showing a low of 24 cents. So if 28 cents breaks, you're going to be looking at 24 cents roughly. And then after that, maybe I could find an exchange that has more data on Ripple long term, or XRP, whatever you want to call it. But you would be where Tron's at right now, and that's called price discovery mode. You're literally in no man's land. So I'd be a little bit nervous, but you're sitting at your 786, which is your deepest retracement. This could be a decent area of value to buy at. It looks like they tried to hold the 618, but so much selling pressure. Honestly, I haven't kept track of the news on XRP that often. I don't know if they just had some negative news, because I know when Bitcoin was running there for a while, it was just stagnant. Just seems like the buyers kind of leveled off. So the next coin I'll look at is Litecoin. I know that's a pretty popular coin. And like I said, if you have any coins that you would like me to analyze, shoot a comment down below. I'd be more than happy to look at it, give you my interpretation of it. Alright, so looking at the 4 hour, you can see where Market Cipher gave the buy signal here at the bottom, or at this temporary bottom. We bounced roughly at $94, and it looks like we hit a high of roughly 107. Let me look at Market Cipher A. Did it give it a sell signal at the top of that? Sure did. Got the red dot right there. So we hit the high of 106 from our temporary bounce, and now we're sitting at our low. Are we really sitting? What's our price at? So we're sitting roughly at about $90 right now. And you can see I did not add these lines, or I'm sorry, these lines have been unaltered. This has been here for days. I haven't looked at Litecoin in a while. It bounced off perfectly. So remember how I told you 28 cents was final stand mode for XRP? Litecoin's final stand is $84. That $84, $85 area. If $85 breaks, you will have a smaller support in that $72 area. And the way I'm judging this is usually I like to go by candle, see what these highs look like. Okay, I take it back. You will have some, you can see where these tops are kind of topped off here. But let's look at the map. Let's see how long it was in this area. Because I judge these supports by how long we consolidated. How long did we accumulate coins in this area to build these supports and resistances? And you can tell we started this trend roughly the middle of April, and we finally broke the trend at the middle of May. So that's actually not too bad for XRP. So I'm going to turn this line green. But see, there's really only 2 touch points. So the way I would put this is I'm going to give this a generalized area, because like here, how we have for sure touch points that are clearly visible, up here not so much. It's, they seem to be a little bit sporadic, but they're in a close proximity to each other. So the way I would put this is you're going to have temporary support at 80 cents. You can follow the dotted lines about the top of these candles right here. Looks like you have about 3 of them, so that's not too bad. So you can expect $80. And then after that, you have these touch points here on the bottom at roughly $70, $71. But after that, I mean, I'm not really going to count this. That's one touch point. You're going to be looking at, it could go below $60. So the way I look at this, you do not want Litecoin to break $84. You just don't. After that, I mean, you will have slight support, you know, at $80, but after that, it could get very, very ugly. I mean, I guess you even have that $70 range. You know, it's just scary. You know what I mean? And let me use the Fibonacci retracement, because when you're really scared and you're trying to find the best areas of value to guess when these retracements are going to end, Fibonacci is your best friend. I promise you that. So, okay, I actually remember Litecoin. It has me a bit divided right now. I do not know if I should use this support, because look at all those touch points right there. I don't know if I should use this area as my swing low to this swing high, or if I should use the absolute low right here. So what we're going to do is, let's just take a look at it. Let's see what they look like. Let's see what the traders used, because if there's no touch points on any of these fib tools, it'll be telling. So you go to your swing low to your swing high. This is my first live stream on YouTube. You know, I have been practicing on Twitch, so if you are enjoying this, you know, please hit that like button. I'm curious to see what the interest is on these videos. I really enjoy doing them. So, looking here, and you know, just for now, I'm gonna delete these lines just so we can see. I'll press the back button to have them added here in a second. So I'm just going to keep this 84 line. It's the only line I'm going to keep right now. So this tells me that they're going to use the absolute swing low, which is roughly at, what is that, $20? This fits perfectly. You can see where our first impulse up, you can see where we have a bounce off the 0.5. We have a touch point here at the 3.8. Or the 382, sorry about that. And now we are testing our 0.5 retracement. So, like I said, when you have a major impulse to the upside, you generally retrace 50% from your high. And here we are. Your 50% impulse just happens to be, what do you know, $84, $85, right where our final stand marker is. So that gives me a lot. And you know, since we talked about this support line, that gives me confidence in this line and also where I put my fibs. But if you judge based on the other coins and where they bounced, man, the 618, that's a little scary. You can even see here where we had this absolute low, you know, before the major run. It's right at that 618 at $70. So that $70 support line that we talked about, that makes me think it's legit. So, judging on supports and resistances, let's zoom in here a little bit. You're going to have your psychological, your $100 resistance. Actually, I don't like doing support and resistances on the daily. Let's do the 4 hour. Much better. Much easier to read. So, our old support area that we now broke, your first line of resistance is going to be at this fib line at your 382, which is going to be roughly about $98. You'll have your psychological $100 marker. I'm sorry, your $100 psychological, number. But then after that, your next line of resistance is going to be that 112 area that we talked about on all those past videos. So that's going to be roughly about, let's get where these closes are. Yeah, It's going to be roughly about this area where you see all those touch points. It was support, and now it's resistance. My depth perception's a little off, but you get the drift. I'll put the line here. It's roughly about that $112 area. So this is going to be your most optimal target. Well, your optimal target is actually going to be that 100. I don't want to get too bullish on this. You know, we have bigger walls to break before we should be worrying about anything before $112. Let's concentrate on the short term for now. So your first major line of resistance is going to be that 382 at $98. That's the one I would keep in mind. We are going to have a temporary wall. You can see where we have these closes right here. And then we have this touch point here. It's going to be roughly about that $94, $95 area. So the points to keep in mind, you have your final stand of support at $84. Your next major support, and our fib line confirms this, at the 618, which is right here. And your first resistance areas are going to be, what is it? The 382 at $98. Sorry, my cat jumped on me. At $98. And then you're going to have, you'll have that temporary 94. But generally right now, I would be eyeing that $98 area. That support held there for a while. Multiple touch points. Sorry. Thing spooked me a little bit. Alright. Sorry. So I got crypto back on the ground. So there's Litecoin for you. Support at 84. Your first resistance is going to be at $98. Alright, so is there any other coins you guys can think of? You know, I've gone through the main coins right now. Let me know. It's kind of funny looking at my phone, because looking at based on, you know, what I'm watching on my phone, because that's how I'm looking at the comments right now. It seems like it's a little bit delayed. Looks like it's delayed by maybe 15 seconds. And this is the Bybit exchange. I'm not sure if you guys do leverage trading or not. If you are not a experienced trader, I don't recommend using Bybit or any leverage trading exchange for that matter. But if you do participate, like you trade with leverage on Kraken, whatever it's called, you use BitMEX, Bitfinex, I highly recommend giving Bybit a look at. You know, I know I'm an affiliate there, so if you do want to give it a try and you would like to support the channel, I do have a link down there, but no pressure. It does have lower fees. I love the UI, and one of my favorite things about this is there's no lag. So you know how in the crazy liquidating candles. So like for instance, if BitMEX, you know, if every other exchange closes, for instance, at 10,009, BitMEX is famous for having $150 lower, you know, of a crazy wick from all the cells loading in. So, this exchange just doesn't seem to have the liquidating candles. The uptime, it's always up. And, you know, I've never had an experience like what Coinbase had recently, you know, where they were down for like an hour. And the cool thing I like about this exchange is and here's a good example. It's why I made my video about trading psychology today. So to operate in their algorithm, they use like 4 or 5 different exchanges to get their index price. So Kraken, as we all know, it went down yesterday, but their servers kept sending information over, and it totally jacked up Bybit. And so Bybit yesterday, and the timing was so terrible. Bybit, we hit a low of roughly like what, 9,950, And I'm not even joking. And it was the only time I've ever seen this happen. We seriously hit we hit 10,300 within 30 seconds. And then it immediately went down to 10,000, 100, 10,000 area again. And a lot of people got liquidated. And the thing I like about Bybit is their support was instantaneous. They were taking the calls from people, not calls, but emails, and everybody's getting reimbursed their money that got liquidated during that crazy candle. And it was just insane what happened yesterday. But they have a great support group. It's literally the only time I've seen liquidating candles. That was like very, very irregular. But I highly recommend, if you're on Telegram, do go check out their Telegram. You can ask any questions there. They'll respond to you. But they're overall just a great exchange. I highly recommend it if you use BitMEX. So it looks like Bitcoin now. We're testing. We're just over 10,000. Kind of kicking myself. I was making turmeric tablets here earlier, and we hit a high of 11,100. And I was trying to get. Or I'm sorry, it was like 11,050. And based on my charts, I tried to get a short in, but it got shorted so quickly. I'm not going to chase an impulse that's already happened. But the big thing with these leverage trading, and like I said, the way I look at leverage trading is it's 20% technical and it's 80% psychological. So what I mean by that is you have to, it's not just skill in here. You have to have a strong mind as well. And you have to have a trading plan. I really, really do recommend having a trading plan. When you use these exchanges, no matter if it's Bybit, watch your leverage. Only use small portions of your portfolio at a time and average into a position. Because, during that liquidating candle that they had yesterday with the Kraken Air, there were so many people after the move is already made. We're down $1,200 from the day. There was guys that opened 50x shorts under 10,000. And I was like, Bybit's going to take care of you with that air. You're going to get reimbursed your money. But I was just more concerned with the trade overall, And 50x leverage, that's just gambling to me. But I'm a conservative investor or trader. So, alright guys. Looks like Bitcoin, we're breaking 11,000 here. I'm going to go run my dogs outside here for a while. I really, really do appreciate you guys coming in and watching the stream today. But seriously, I'm going to go run my dogs outside for a little bit. I'm going to get a bite to eat. And I'm going to be back on tonight. We're going to stream this 11,000. And hopefully we'll get some live trades in. I can show you what I'm doing and how I trade. And I'll actually show you live how Bybit works, okay? So once again, if you enjoyed this stream and you would like to see more live streams from my static video, besides my static videos, please hit that like button and subscribe button. I really do enjoy doing this. I've upgraded the stream. I've upgraded my my computer, my audio system. I really, really do enjoy doing this. So, and I hope you guys like watching me, most importantly. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you guys for being here. And I will see you guys here in probably about an hour, hour and a half. Expect to stream by probably, at the very latest, it would be probably about 10:30 Eastern time, so 9:30 Central time. So that does it. Be safe, guys. Watch the market for me, and I'll see you guys here in a little bit.